Am I the a-hole for accepting a bonus and then quitting? I worked for a company as an engineer. I originally told the owner that I expected $35 an hour, which was the average for my position at the time. I agreed to $24 per hour with the understanding that I would work my way up as I proved myself. Yes, that was naive. After 2 years, they increased my pay to $26 an hour. I brought up my expected pay from way back when, but I was told to keep working for it. Another company sent me a job offer for about $54 per hour and better benefits. I had planned to accept the offer and had a final interview set up where I was to give my answer. The day I was supposed to give my answer, the owner brought me into a meeting with a lot of higher-ups. He and the other managers congratulated me on my hard work, said I finally qualified for the bonus program, and then gave me a $5,000 bonus check. The kudos and the bonus were nice, but I had been saying I expected a certain pay rate for 2 years. I had gone above and beyond my duties. The average salary for my position had increased in that time, and I had been very open with my boss about that. I took the bonus, accepted my new job offer, and told my manager the next day. I was told that I shouldn't have accepted the bonus and that it was immoral. From my point of view, the bonus was a thank you for all my hard work, not a bribe to keep me on. Should I have not accepted the bonus? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. That bonus was for underpaying you all this time, not an advance on future work. And by chasing it as a bonus rather than a pay raise, they could easily not pay it next year, and you'd have to work a whole year for the lower rates again. Take the money and enjoy your new job. A bonus is a one-time payment, not a salary correction. They were never planning to pay OP what is worth long-term. He did the right thing. If they truly valued his work, they would have increased his hourly wage, not dangled a temporary incentive. He doesn't owe them anything. Not the a-hole. The way a lot of people look at compensation is, a bonus is a reward for work you've already done. Stock is for future performance. So that bonus was yours for all of the hard work you had already done. There are plenty of people who will quit a job but stay around long enough to get a yearly bonus, where it's offered. That is not immoral since it's for work already done. I got laid off and still got my bonus. It was a WTF moment, but show the bosses had no choice. I still got a bonus after leaving a company. They were given once a year at the same time every year and based on a percentage of profits. Since I'd contributed to 10 months of work towards that profit cycle, they gave me a prorated bonus 2 months after I stopped working for them. I had no idea they were going to do that. It was a nice little surprise direct deposit. Not the a-hole. You earned that bonus. They said it themselves. You worked hard and you qualified for the bonus. You were transparent about expectations. I believe the $5,000 is the definition of too little too late. Especially since it's equivalent to roughly $2.50 an hour pay raise if he worked 40 hours a week. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to fund my boyfriend's genius idea? I, female 24, have been dating my boyfriend, male 29, for 3 years. And while it's always been a bit wacky, I usually find it kind of endearing. This time, however, he's really outdone himself. A few weeks ago, he told me he had a groundbreaking idea that would change humanity forever. Entertaining him, I asked what it is. His answer? He wants to invent a new color. Before we go any further, it's important to note that we are both college graduates. I graduated in biochemistry last year, and my boyfriend graduated in philosophy a few years before, which makes this all the wilder, I guess. I try to gently point out that colors exist as part of the visible spectrum of light. So unless he was about to discover a new wavelength, this might not be possible. But he waved me off, calling me close-minded and saying he was enlightened in a way you'll never be. At first I just nodded and let him ramble about his vision. But then he told me he needed funding to start his research. Specifically, he wanted me to give him $4,000 so he could buy supplies, including advanced art tools, a lab coat, because apparently scientists wears them so it would make him feel smarter, And, wait for it, a trip to the desert because he thinks the pure sunlight there will inspire him. I told him absolutely not. I'm saving for grad school, and even if I weren't, I'm not dropping thousands of dollars on his, whatever this is. He got mad, saying I didn't believe in him or his potential to revolutionize human perception. He even accused me of being jealous that he had a world-changing idea, and I didn't. I got really heated, and he ended up saying a lot of things about using my card since he knew the details anyway. For reference, he's been unemployed for a while now, while I have a regular job. I ended up saying some things I do regret, but a lot of it was in retaliation. Now he's sulking and telling everyone I'm unsupportive and afraid of innovation. His friends are backing him up, saying I should be encouraging his creativity instead of crushing his dreams. Am I the a-hole for refusing to fund his quest to invent a new color? Edit. Regarding drugs, we smoke weed occasionally but haven't in the past few weeks. I've never seen him do any other drugs, nor have I found any in the house. So I don't know if I can really blame this on a bad trip. Saying he was enlightened in a way you'll never be. With his superior enlightened brain, he should easily be able to figure out how to make $4,000 himself. Not the a-hole, but you would be if you allowed a delicate genius to demean himself by begging for money from a lesser intellect. He's obviously better than that. My reply was obviously glib, but there is the possibility that he's having some sort of mental breakdown that requires professional attention. I would suggest to OP to request a new credit card number, so he no longer has the number memorized. This was exactly what came to my mind first too. Proactively cancel that card and ask for a new number. Then be sure it's stored somewhere he can't easily see or memorize. Also, OP, keep checking your credit card account so that the moment you see a single charge that isn't yours, you know is stealing from you intentionally. Nah, she needs to open a new account at a different bank, transfer the vast majority of her money to it, hide all evidence of it, and keep the card somewhere else that's not her wallet. Make sure it isn't connected to PayPal, Cash App, or any other way he can send money to himself. She needs to change her online banking, Cash App, PayPal, and email passwords and fully cut this guy off. She needs to break up with him or tell him he goes to therapy with her or it's over. As a woman, I'll never understand the crap some of us let partners put us through. This dude would be an ex the second he insulted my intelligence and threatened to steal my money without permission. Y'all ladies gotta grow backbones and some standards. Damn. Not the a-hole, but I'm concerned about him. This sounds less wacky than like a possible symptom of mental or neurological illness. I'm not a doctor or a psychologist, but if someone close to me said this and seemed serious about it, I'd be seriously concerned about their health. Yeah, and he's in a prime age range for psychological issues to pop up. He sounds kind of manic. Weed can cause psychosis in people who are already prone to psychosis. It can definitely bring a disorder out earlier than it would have. Mini update. Thank you all for the advice. I've moved the majority of my money into my second bank account for now, which I'm pretty sure he doesn't have access to. In terms of his mental health, I'm not in the habit of sharing his personal history online. But after seeing all your comments, I do agree that this might be a mental health issue. I'm going to attempt to approach him with the idea of a consultation tomorrow. If anyone has any advice on how to bring it up without it coming across as insulting, I'd appreciate it. I know he was down after losing his job, but your comments have made me more worried about more serious illnesses that he may have. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my uncles we won't inherit anything? Before my 18-male grandma passed away, she and I had an arrangement. She gave me money to buy horror novels, and I read them to her twice a week. We spent a fair amount of time together. During one of our last sessions, she confided in me that she wanted to leave all her money to charities, but decided to leave a college fund for my cousin 16 female since Uncle Henry lost a massive part of his savings through gambling. The guy thought he could recover all he lost by making a big bet on Mike Tyson, but then Jake Paul won, so he ended up losing even more. Grandma asked me not to tell anyone about this, and I didn't. I kept my mouth shut. When my dad and uncles found out, they reacted in different ways. Dad wasn't really that surprised, since Grandma was rather charitable, especially in her later years. Uncle Henry was grateful for the fund, but Uncle John was quite upset, saying that she was their mom and should have left them something. All three of them got suspicious and asked me if Grandma told me about this during one of the afternoons I spent at her place. I admitted that I knew about it, and Uncle John said I should have told them first instead of letting them find out this way, that it wouldn't hurt so much if he had time to prepare instead of being caught off guard. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You had private bonding with your grandma, and she told you about a decision that she made. You did not have to spill it to anyone else. In fact, it would have been chaos if you had. Uncle John didn't want time to process and not be surprised. He wanted time to go to his mother and pressure her in her dying days to give him money. I bet he wouldn't have even tried to get your dad or the other uncle a cut. He just wanted it for himself. He would have caused a huge family rift as your grandma was dying and taken away her peace. So, by not starting that off, you are definitely not the a-hole. Exactly. Uncle John wasn't looking for time to process. He wanted time to manipulate her. You respected your grandma's wishes and protected her peace in her final days. That's the right thing to do. And props to you and your dad for being the stable branch of the family. Leaving a college fund for one grandchild because her son had gambled his money away and telling another you don't seem to have at any point asked for or expected her money, and she was confident enough in your relationship to tell you without worrying. Not many 18-year-old guys are that good with grandma. And your dad wasn't surprised it went to charity and doesn't seem to have complained. I hope you all have many happy memories of grandma and that those horror novels sit nicely on a bookcase somewhere. Not the a-hole. Uncle John said I should have told them first instead of letting them find out this way, that it wouldn't hurt so much if he had time to prepare. Translation: I could have bullied her into changing her mind if you'd told me about it while she was alive. She knew what she was doing when she asked you not to say anything. Exactly this. The only preparing that should have ever crossed his mind is preparing to grieve his mother, not preparing how he was planning to spend her money when she died. Uncle John is letting his entitlement show, and gold isn't good on anyone. Not the a-hole. Your grandmother confided something in you, and you respected her wishes to keep it secret. Don't let Uncle John or anyone else make you feel bad. It's them who should feel bad for acting entitled to someone else's money. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my friend $60 that I owe him? I, 30 male, and my close friend Jake, 29 male, have been close for years. Over the years, I've lent Jake money so many times. I'm talking $50 here for gas, $100 there during a trip, even once $300 when I needed to buy an emergency PS5. I never really kept track because I trusted him. He paid me back some of it over time, but he still owes me a decent chunk, which I've never bugged him about. He would occasionally gift me skins in the games we play in an attempt to balance the books. A few weeks ago, Jake covered my $60 when I left my wallet at home during a group dinner. I told him I'd get him back, but life got busy and I totally forgot. A few days ago, he texted me, "Can you send me that $60 from dinner?" I apologized for forgetting and said I'd sent it that night, to which he replied, "I shouldn't have to chase you for this, man." That rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't say anything at the moment, but it really started to bug me. I thought about all the times I lent him money and how I never pressured him to pay me back. I never once sent him a passive-aggressive text or made him feel bad about it. So I didn't send him the money right away, and instead told him, "Look, I get that I owe you $60, and I'll pay you back, but let's not pretend this is some one-sided thing. You still owe me hundreds, and I've never hounded you about it." Jake didn't take that well. He said it's not the same thing, because I never asked for my money back. So it's on me if I didn't care enough to get it. Now he's mad at me, thinking I didn't pay him back intentionally, saying I'm deflecting to avoid paying him back, and that I'm being a bad friend. I feel like I'm in a weird spot here. Yeah, I owe him $60, and of course I'll pay it back. But on the other hand, his reaction feels so hypocritical, given everything I've done for him financially over the years. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I paid him back like I always intended to do. Jake is a hypocrite and also an unblushing user. Time to make him grow up, OP. Send a new text. Hey, Jake. This whole thing is leaving a bad taste in my mouth. We both know that you owe me way more than $60. I haven't been hounding you for it, but that doesn't change the fact that you borrowed the money and said you'd pay it back. And you still owe me. It's been bugging me for quite a while. My best calculation of the total you owe me is $450. I talked to a couple of folks, and I'm going to take their advice here. I'm setting off my $60 debt against your $450. So now you owe me $390. And just so things don't get any weirder than they are right now, please understand that I can't lend you any more money until that $390 is paid off. Not the a-hole for putting an end to the bleed, OP. This, never lend him money again. Not the a-hole. So true, they clearly view each other differently. It's like in the movie Bronx Tale. Instead of hounding the guy for the money, just write it off and you never have to lend him money again. I for sure wouldn't. Not the a-hole. I would be furious at his dig. Even before the dig, I was on your side, but that pushed it way over the edge. Are you sure this is a friendship worth maintaining? We have been friends for over 10 years, moved to a different country for our higher education together, and are really close to each other's families. So I would like to think yes. Fair enough, but bear in mind this is not someone you should ever lend money to again. Last story. Am I the a-hole for taking my friend's sick dog to an expensive vet without her consent while she was away? I, 20 male, agreed to dog sit for my friend Alma, 22 female, while she was away for a week visiting her parents. On day 3, her dog, Cherry, started vomiting and refused to eat. I called her, but she didn't pick up. She was at a festival. I panicked and took Cherry to the emergency vet, where they diagnosed her with a blockage and performed a $1,400 surgery. Cherry's fine now. When Alma got back, I gave her the bill, explaining it was an emergency and that it was my only option. She completely blew up, saying she'd never have approved such an expensive procedure and would have waited to see if Cherry improved. She says she's broke and can't pay me back. Our mutual friends are split. Some say I saved Cherry's life and didn't have any better options, while others say I overstepped by not waiting longer because it's not like a dog could die that quick. Alma's now ignoring me and telling everyone we know that I forced her into debt. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. A blockage can kill any dog quickly. You literally saved her life by taking her. Well done for noticing she was really unwell. It can be tricky to spot. Edited to add. The vet wouldn't just go ahead with a surgery without exploring the option of making the dog sick first to see if whatever is causing the block could come out. This obviously wasn't a viable option. Some vets will get it wrong, of course. We are human. I'm right in this instance, and so was the treating vet. Second opinion wasn't an option for OP. It was crazy. I just grabbed her and went to the vet. Don't know much about dogs, but I knew something was definitely wrong. All vets are expensive, and in an emergency situation, they're very expensive. You did the right thing. Not the a-hole. She'd be crying about how you murdered her dog if you'd taken the only other humane route. You absolutely did the right thing. $1,400 isn't even particularly expensive for that kind of surgery. Yeah, I just couldn't sit back and do nothing. I'd hope someone would do the same for me. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my younger sister money to maintain her lavish lifestyle after many years of hard work causing a fallout with my family? Okay, I'll try to keep this as short as I can, but I need to vent a little because I feel like my entire family is mad at me, and I don't know if I'm in the wrong here. I, 34 female, have worked my butt off for over a decade to get where I am today. I came from a pretty average family. Growing up, we weren't poor, but we weren't well off either. I had to bust my butt through school, take extra shifts, save every penny while others were out partying and buying things I couldn't even dream of affording. Now, after years of grinding, I finally own my own home, have a decent savings, and I'm in a good place financially. It wasn't easy, and I'm proud of myself for getting here. Then there's my younger sister, Sarah, 29 female. Sarah's always been different. I love her, but she's never been great with money or responsibilities in general. She's had a history of overspending and not really caring about the consequences. While I was working multiple jobs and going back to school, she was out buying designer bags, going on trips, eating out at fancy restaurants, all the things I had to forgo. Here's the kicker though. Our parents have always cuddled her. Even now at 29, they're still helping her out financially. They've paid off her rent a few times, they cover some of her bills, and they even bailed her out when she maxed out her credit cards more than once. She's basically been able to live this luxurious life without putting in the work. Well, recently Sarah hit a rough patch. Surprise, surprise. She called me in a panic because she couldn't keep up with her expenses and asked if I could lend her some money. At first I felt bad and thought, okay, maybe I can help her out this one time. But then I realized she wasn't asking for money to pay rent or cover an emergency. She wanted me to help her maintain her lifestyle. She straight up said she didn't want to sell her designer stuff or downgrade her apartment because she deserves nice things. I told her no. I said that while I love her, I'm not going to throw money at her so she can keep living this way. I suggested she start making smarter financial decisions, like cutting back on luxuries, maybe selling some of her more expensive things, and living within her means. Well, she didn't take it well. She got super mad and accused me of being selfish and forgetting where I came from. She went on about how I'm in a good place now, so I should help her because that's what family does. Now she's gone crying to our parents, and of course they've taken her side. They called me saying I'm being stingy and that money is just money, and that family is more important. They've helped her as much as they can, and now they think it's my turn to step up. I tried to explain that it's not about me hoarding my money, but about the fact that she's living irresponsibly, and I don't want to enable that behavior. They didn't care, and now the whole family's upset with me. I've even gotten calls from aunts and uncles telling me I'm wrong for not helping her out. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I worked so hard for what I have, and it doesn't feel fair that I'm expected to bail her out so she can keep living this ridiculous lifestyle. I love her, but I just don't think it's right to reward bad behavior, even if she is my sister. So, am I the a-hole for not giving her the money and causing this massive fallout with my family? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If your parents truly believe that money is just money, then they should be happy to sell some of their investments or other assets, or even delay vacation or retirement plans, to continue to fund a lifestyle that they've raised Sarah to expect. And anyone that calls you, all the uncles and aunts, tell them since they are butting into this business, then they should also help out. So your sister can keep spending money on designer jewelry. Watch the conversation change real quick. Thank you so much for offering to help support Sarah's lifestyle. How much can I put you down for contributing? I know she's been eyeing a new handbag and some nice jewelry, so I know she's going to need a lot. Is $10,000 starting out good, or should I put you down for more, do you think? If Sarah wants to be a trad wife or a stay-at-home girlfriend, she needs to start with a rich partner. Seems she skipped that step. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You've worked hard for what you have and deserve to keep it. It's like the parable of grasshopper and the ant. If your parents want to bail her out, they can get a second mortgage. That way, your sister won't need to sell any of her nice stuff or move to a cheaper place. Because let's be honest here, if you end up needing help from your parents, there's nothing left for you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? So my 28 female sister Ella, 31 female, is getting married in 2 weeks. We've always been close, even though we have our differences. I've always been more of a laid-back, introverted person, while Ella's the life of the party and loves being the center of attention. It never bothered me much, until now. I've been engaged to my fiancé Mark, 29 male, for about a year. He's wonderful, kind, supportive, and just an all-around great guy. My family has always liked him, or so I thought. But about a month ago, something happened that made me question everything. Ella asked Mark to meet her for coffee one day, saying she needed to help picking out a wedding gift for me. I didn't think much of it at the time, but when Mark came home, he was really quiet. After some coaxing, he finally told me what happened. Apparently, Ella spent the entire time trying to convince him that I wasn't right for him. She told him I was too boring, that I wasn't ambitious enough, that he could do better. She even went so far as to suggest that he should call off the engagement and see other people. Mark was completely blindsided and upset. He said he defended me, but it was clear that Ella was relentless. I was furious when I found out. I confronted Ella and she didn't even deny it. She said she was just looking out for Mark and that she wants the best for him. When I asked her why she thought it was her place to interfere in our relationship, she just shrugged and said she was being honest. I told her that what she did was completely out of line and hurtful, not just to me, but to Mark as well. She didn't apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying that if I was confident in my relationship, I wouldn't be so upset. I ended up leaving her house in tears. Since then, I've barely spoken to her. My parents found out about the situation, and while they agree that what Ella did was wrong, they're begging me to still attend the wedding. They think that missing it would cause a huge rift in the family, and that I should just let it go for the sake of peace. But I don't know if I can. Every time I think about what she did, it makes my blood boil. I feel betrayed and hurt. I don't know if I can just pretend everything is fine for her big day. Mark supports whatever decision I make, but I can tell he's hurt by this too. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? Not the a-hole. Tell your parents you're staying home for the sake of peace. Your peace. Or tell them that if you go, you will object to the wedding, as it's clear that Ella has feelings for Mark and the wedding is a sham. Not the a-hole. She might be getting married to someone else, but she clearly has feelings for Mark. Right. OP's sister is marrying a man she doesn't love. OP should look out for this guy and let him know what his fiancé tried to do and why. OP's sister would understand, right? I would definitely have coffee with him and let him know he can do better. Not the a-hole. Narcissists, cheaters, basically generally crappy people, all bank on the fact that your reaction to their toxic behavior will be viewed as an overreaction, and they try to pin a blame on you. This is especially true in family dynamics, with this ridiculous belief that somehow being related by blood gives someone a free pass to crap all over you. If she ever is truly repent, then maybe there would be room for grace and forgiveness. But until then, I would consider her dead to you. Parents think OP not attending wedding could cause a rift in the family. No, Ella caused the rift by meeting Mark and trying to ruin OP's relationship. The blame is on Ella, not OP. You were right. OP will get the blame for her reaction. No one will be concentrating on Ella's behavior that started this whole issue. They always try to blame the reaction to awful behavior instead of the behavior itself. It's so messed up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move my wedding date after my brother said he can't make it? So I, 28 female, am getting married in 2 months. My fiancé, 29 male, and I have been planning this wedding for over a year. We picked the venue, sent out save the dates last year, and everyone has known about the date for ages. Like we're all in, the venue is booked, caterers, flowers, photographer. Basically everything is set, and deposits have been paid. At this point, we're just counting down the days, excited to get married and celebrate with everyone. Enter my younger brother, 25 male. He just got into this super competitive internship program that he's been wanting for a while, and he is over the moon about it. I'm genuinely happy for him because I know this is a big deal for his career. The problem is, he found out the start date is the same week as my wedding, and he told me he can't come anymore. Obviously, I was disappointed, but I assumed he'd be a little bummed too and we'd move on. Instead, he asked me if I'd consider changing the wedding date. At first, I thought he was joking, but nope, dead serious. He's all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I really don't want to miss your wedding, but I can't be in 2 places at once. I told him there's literally no way I'm changing the date. We're 2 months out. Everything is booked, invites have been sent, guests have RSVP'd, and people have already planned time off and booked hotels. Not to mention, moving a wedding isn't as simple as just picking another day, especially at this point. There's a whole cascade of other stuff I'd have to move, and that's if the venue even has another open date anytime soon. He got annoyed and basically said, "So you care more about a party than your brother's future?" Which really pissed me off. Like, come on. It's not like I didn't give everyone, including him, a huge heads up about this date. He's known for over a year. I get that the internship is important, but it's not like he couldn't have communicated with them and tried to work something out, right? Now, my mom is all over me about it. saying that I'll regret not having him there, and that I'm being selfish by not even considering changing the date. She's implying that family is more important than one day, but I feel like this is one day that's actually about me and my fiancé, and I don't think it's fair to be expected to turn my life upside down to accommodate his work. My dad is staying out of it, classic, but I can tell he thinks I'm being a bit unreasonable too. Fiancé is backing me up, but I can tell he feels weird about the whole thing. He's a big family guy and doesn't want any drama, but he also knows how much we've already put into this wedding. I don't want to sound like I don't care about my brother because I do. I love him, and I hate that he won't be there. But at the same time, I don't think it's reasonable to ask someone to change their wedding date this close. It's not like we're talking about a birthday party or something. This is an entire wedding. So yeah, am I the a-hole for refusing to change the date and basically telling him if he can't come, that's on him? Or should I be more flexible here? Now for the top comments. Your brother and your family's opinions are absurd. Not a-hole. Why is this kid so delusional? Did he often expect things to be moved around for him? Did he often get extensions on things? Is he the golden child? Mom is backing him and dad is staying out of it. If they think OP's wedding doesn't get priority in their own damn life, it shows who's probably been getting preferential treatment. Yep, son versus daughter. Mom backing the son because family? Reeks of a golden child scapegoat dynamic. Dad not wanting to rock the boat is just an enabler. You can't move mountains for him. You can't screw over everyone else who saved the date. There's no argument here. The date is the date. Now, I get that he doesn't want to make waves, but my sister's wedding seems like an easy ask. Is it on a weekday? Why can't he do both? A lot of times travel/hotels/time off can't be rescheduled. Everyone else planned accordingly. They shouldn't all be screwed over for one person. Not a-hole. He's 25 but acting like he's 13. The fact that your mother, who should know better, is on you about it combined with his attitude tells me he's the golden child. Tell mom if she really cared about family, she would liquidate her savings to rebook the venue, the vendors, and the travel and accommodations of all the guests to make sure your brother can come, along with apology letters to all those who took vacation days for nothing. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I tell my friend her bridesmaids won't be throwing her an extensive bachelorette party if we aren't invited to the wedding? So I, 27 female, am friends with Jane, 28 female. Jane and her fiancé Brad, 29 male, recently got engaged. Jane is one of my best friends and we have known each other since college. When talking about our future weddings, Jane has always expressed that she wants me and a handful of our closest friends to be her bridesmaids and to have a destination wedding. When I saw Jane and Brad the day they got engaged, one of the first things Jane said to me was how excited she was for me and our other friend to be her bridesmaids. This was about a month ago. However, now that Jane and Brad have started looking at wedding planning, they have decided to have a tiny destination wedding in Colorado and only immediate family will be invited, to save money. They also plan on having a casual party for all of the rest of their family and friends after. But there will be no ceremony or sit-down dinner and will be very clearly not a second wedding. Even though I was disappointed and hurt to hear that I would not be invited to the actual wedding, I understand that it is their right to have whatever kind of wedding they want. And if it is not important to her that her best friends be there, that's her choice. But what irked me is that Jane still expects a bridal shower, a long weekend trip to an expensive destination for a bachelorette party, and mentioned a registry for wedding gifts. I find it a bit ridiculous that she still expects to have these things thrown by, and presumably paid for, by people that aren't even invited to the actual wedding. She still insists on calling us her bridesmaids, but since we will not be present at the wedding and will have no special designation at the party, I don't see how we actually are. Our friends are a bit split on what to do about this. Some want to confront her about this, some think that would be an a-hole move. So would I be the a-hole for telling Jane that if she's not having a traditional wedding, she can't expect traditional wedding benefits? Edited to add, I think a few people are misunderstanding my point here. I'm not saying I don't want to celebrate her at all, or that she shouldn't get anything outside of her wedding. What's bothering me is her stated expectation of a big shower and bachelorette trip. She explicitly said she wants to go to Scottsdale. We are in Tennessee, so this requires a flight. Without an invitation to the wedding, she could throw any kind of backyard, courthouse, big, small, whatever wedding, and I would be happy to do all of the above, as long as I was actually invited. Not a-hole. You aren't bridesmaids. You are friends of the bride. That being said, however, if she specifically mentions the reason for the small ceremonies to save money, then it seems to me that she does want the big wedding you all talked about, but they can't afford it. She's probably really disappointed she can't have the wedding of her dreams, and now she's even more disappointed she won't have her dream bachelorette party either. Why can't you throw her a bridal party just because you love her and want her to have a bridal party? Totally understand your point. They did say the reason is to save money. However, she and her fiancé both have great jobs. He drives an expensive car. They have a designer dog. They recently bought a home for about $400K. And she is constantly buying expensive clothes. Also, Brad's family is rich, and she told me his parents offered to pay for at least part of the wedding. So they are choosing this style of wedding because that's what they want to do, not that they can't afford to have a slightly larger wedding. There is also a lot of background, but the short version is that a few years ago, Brad had a medical emergency when Jane and I lived together, and I and her other friends went above and beyond for them during this time, which I was more than happy to do because I love them both. But I think that is contributing to this feeling a bit more like a slap in the face than if it was any other friend/couple. I do still want to celebrate her and their upcoming marriage. My feelings are stemming from the expectation of an extensive bachelorette trip without an inclusion in the actual wedding. Not a-hole. Bridesmaids who aren't invited to the wedding aren't bridesmaids. Not even guests. Apparently, they're just ADMs. And party planners. They should plan a destination weekend party for the bride, then not invite her. It's the bride's favorite type of event after all. Boyfriend 27 discovered his parents have an open marriage. It is now doubting the whole institution. My boyfriend and I, 27 female, have been together 5 years. Now that a lot of our friend group has started to get engaged and married and we are both about to turn 28, we've been talking about it more. I've made it clear that my intention is to be married and not forever just dating. He has agreed. He has been alluding to getting engaged on a trip we have planned in December where my whole family will be there. Then a few weeks ago, he thought he discovered his dad in an affair, to which he told his mom about. Well, turns out they have an open marriage due to his mom's low libido. Apparently they had a dead bedroom for years until they opened things up. Obviously, this is something they never wanted to share with their son, but they came clean rather than having him believe his dad was just cheating. This has been quite messes things up for him. He seems kinda lost, and has made comments about how this whole perception of his parents and marriage as a whole has changed. Now, whenever the topic of us getting married comes up, he acts really uncomfortable and changes the subject. This past weekend, after a night of drinking, he admitted he doesn't even know if he sees marriage in his future anymore. I don't know what to do. I love him and want to be with him forever, but marriage is 100% my intention. I have no desire to forever be boyfriend and girlfriend. I want to be sympathetic to what's going on with him as I'm sure it's hard, but at the same time my position on marriage is not and will not change. I don't want to make an ultimatum right now, but at the same time, if marriage was 100% ruled out, I would leave him. He hasn't quite said that, only expressed doubt in the institution, so I don't want to say that explicitly just yet, but I also don't want to waste the rest of my 20s with someone if there's no future. What should I do? Edit. He does have a therapist he speaks to weekly. I would assume he has talked to her about this, but those discussions are between the two of them. We have not done couples counseling, but it's something I would be open to. Because I keep getting asked why I aspire to get married, here is a copy-paste where I answer that question. Formal commitment in front of family, friends, church, and government. Legal recognition that isn't provided to all domestic partners. Tax benefits. Religious reasons. Conditioned societal respect that married couples tend to get compared to people just dating. A more stable environment to raise kids. Lots of studies that show children do best with two married parents. I don't want to be 40 and referring to my long-term partner as my boyfriend or partner. I want that to be my husband. More as well, but those are some of the major reasons. I'm not advocating that everybody gets married, but it is something that I want. Didn't realize I'd get attacked so much for wanting to get married, considering just about every country the vast majority of adults get married. Now for the top advice. I think he needs more time to process this, and that you two should table discussions of marriage for a while. He only found out within the past few weeks, right? I would encourage him to consider seeing a therapist if he thinks it would be helpful for him to have a neutral sounding board for his feelings on this. It makes sense that this freaks him out. It is difficult for him. Give him some time and some space. Don't make any big decisions all of a sudden. Exactly this. Marriage is a decision that impacts your entire lifetime. Something traumatic like this could take months to cope with. Best to let him figure things out for a while without a lot of pressure. This is good advice. When he's had time to process, it's probably worth mentioning that different things work for different people. Some people have a very traditional marriage with traditional roles. Some are happy to be together in a traditional relationship but never formalize it. Some have committed relationships but being others into the bedroom with them. Some allow being intimate outside of marriage separately, and so on and so on. It sounds like his parents started more like the first, but had a problem and their solution was to make it open physically. That's fine if it works for them. Opie made it clear that marriage is a life goal for her. That's completely reasonable. He likely will get over what he learned about his parents, but he also might decide marriage isn't for him. That would be unfortunate for the two of them, but also completely reasonable. There are all sorts of things that can make two people who love each other not compatible as mates. They're not compatible without significant compromises. The trick is finding someone who you love and who you can share a life with without compromising so much that you regret it. I think your post implies a few things but doesn't outright say them, so I'm going to go out on some limbs. Forgive me if I'm off target. It sounds like he admired his parents' lasting and successful marriage and saw it as a model for himself. And now that he's learned they're open, he sees their marriage as unsuccessful or unhappy. Has he considered that they do have a successful marriage still? And that one of the reasons it has lasted is because of the open arrangement, not despite it. It sounds to me like the parents realized there was a serious issue with their mismatched libidos and implemented a successful solution that allowed their marriage to continue. That's a good, admirable thing. Can your boyfriend allow himself to see it that way? Yeah, I think this is spot on. Especially considering it came off the back of thinking his dad cheated. Emotions were high. He was hurt and disappointed and now thinks that their marriage was not as successful or happy as he assumed. But for all he knows, the open marriage helped it be successful and happy. Opie maybe think or some open questions to ask him. Help him get to the bottom of what he's feeling. It's been a few weeks. You need to bring some chill. I understand this is upsetting and disappointing, but alluding to getting engaged in December isn't something you should have been holding him to in the first place. And it's perfectly fair for someone to change their mind. It is an issue for you that he changed his mind, but it's not an unfair thing he is doing to you. It's the fundamental truth about what he's experiencing. You're not going to address it by whining about fairness. Tell him your word. Tell him you don't want to be a forever girlfriend. Be prepared to tell him what marriage means to you. Ask him to define this relationship with you, not on the basis of his parents' agreements or choices. If you struggle to find common ground, see a therapist together to explore how your relationship moves forward. Next story is titled, "A guy I was seeing broke up with me over adult movies, and I'm at a loss." I, 28 female, was dating this guy, 31 male, for about 6 months and things were really going well, until a conversation we had seemed to change that. We were at his house. He was cooking us dinner and we were just having some cocktails hanging out, when somehow the topic of turn-offs in a partner came up. I asked what his were, and it was pretty typical answers. Lying, cheating, being disrespectful, laziness, and healthy habits. Nothing surprising. He said I didn't check any of those boxes and that was what he liked about me. When he asked what my turn-offs were, the first thing I blurted out was that I found men who watch adult materials unattractive. I've had to tell previous partners this, but it's only been a real issue one time in my past relationships. He just kinda nodded, and then asked me, what do you not like about men who watch this stuff? I said I think men who watch a lot of it have unrealistic expectations from women in the bedroom, and in my experience, they aren't as good of lovers. He just smiled and said he understood. We ate dinner, watched a movie, I fell asleep, and I went home after I woke up around midnight. We usually fool around, but we both worked in the morning and it was late. He walked to my car and kissed me goodbye. Everything seemed fine. Fast forward to the next day, and he calls me to tell me he doesn't think we should see each other anymore. I was shocked. I asked why he was saying this, and he said that he is one of the guys I was talking about last night, and he doesn't think we're compatible. I honestly wasn't putting two and two together and asked what he was talking about. He said he enjoys adult movies and get off to it a few times a week. He said watching it is fun, and he doesn't feel like it's ever impacted his performance. It hasn't, he's a good lover. But he said I shouldn't have to lower my standards for him, and I shouldn't have to feel guilty about something he enjoys. I said it was a conversation we could have later, and I didn't find him unattractive because of it. He repeated what I said the night before practically verbatim, and told me he really likes me and understands why I feel the way I do. He said he knows I'll meet someone who shares the same values. Anytime I try to explain I didn't mean it the way it came out, I just stumbled over my words. He said he wishes me well and to don't be a stranger, then hung up. I waited a few hours and sent him a novel of a text explaining that I didn't mean I literally don't find men who watch it unattractive, just that I find the material itself sleazy and unrealistic. He replied with something along these lines. That stuff you've seen in those materials that you think is sleazy is stuff I've done and enjoy. Like I said, OP, you shouldn't have to change who you are for me, and I shouldn't have to change who I am for you. Don't stress over it, and take care. I feel off. Like you took what I said the wrong way, and now thinks I'm a prude. Everything has been pretty vanilla so far, and I'm no prude, and I'm open to stuff. I really like this guy. He's hardworking, handsome, really funny, and overall just a good time. Super laid back. I'm not happy about how it ended. Has anyone else ever been through something similar? Should I just let him go? My sister said I should be happy he was honest and upfront with me early about it. I want to confront him in person. Any advice is appreciated. He took it literally like you said it, and now you are attempting to change your tune when he is being honest with you? I'm sure he sees that as a turn-off too. Yeah, getting to know each other, responding truthfully, and then backpedaling to try and change his mind sounds almost manipulative to me. Let it go. Like you took what I said the wrong way and now thinks I'm a prude. No, he didn't. You said before this that he repeated your words practically verbatim. He didn't take it the wrong way. He took it exactly how you meant it. You are now changing what you meant due to facts discovered about this guy that you don't want to lose. But this guy listened, didn't act rashly, thought about it, and communicated. Communicated wonderfully, I might add. A+ for him, and A+ for you up until you started trying to backtrack. Stop. You even said in the comments below that you would be fine with this for now if he eventually stopped watching. He doesn't want to stop watching, he doesn't want you to change him. Move on. He is 100% correct that your values do not align with his. We're compatible as long as this person changes XYZ, it doesn't work. He doesn't think you're a prude, he thinks you're not compatible. You need to move on. I couldn't agree more. This is spot on. Hi there. This may sting a bit. You were honest and true to yourself. He was honest and true to himself. He's done the right thing in splitting up with you. It's not because you hurt him or you have an incompatibility. You think you've told him he's a bad lover. What you have told him is that you find men who routinely watch and use these materials unattractive. He has said he's not going to change his habits, and why should he? This is your problem, not his. What you are doing now is reversing on being true to yourself. This is only going to make you more unattractive to him. Please do what you have to do to not send him any more explaining texts. It's not going to reverse what's happened. And girl, that's for the best. This was and still is a deal breaker for you. The fact you wanted it to be different with this guy does not change any of the facts. Grieve for the loss of this one, but not for too long. Then get on with finding someone who has the same values as you. That's what is going to give you your happy relationship. The thing is, he told me he watches it a few times a week and has stopped completely before we're in a serious relationship. As long as he stopped, if we took that step, I'd be okay. You're grasping at straws here. He literally said he shouldn't have to change himself. And now you're trying to say, well, maybe, and think he would stop for you. He said he's not interested in changing. Full stop. Don't try to change his mind. It sounds like he was kind in the way he split up with you. Respect that, cut your losses, and move on. Now for the last story. My husband made an inappropriate comment about my sister which got my entire family and her boyfriend uncomfortable, but he still sees nothing wrong with what he did. My husband, male 32, and I, female 29, have been married for 4 months. We've met 2.5 years ago. He's the type that likes teasing others and jokes about certain situations. Normally he's polite around my family, but occasionally throws some backhanded comments here and there that resulted in the person receiving those comments to be insulted. My husband would apologize and say he was just mewing around / teasing. My sister, female 20, has been affected the most by his teasing so far, but I only noticed it recently. He'd comment on her looks, the friends she hangs out with, her room, her beat-up car, etc. Sometimes go so far. I'd make inappropriate comments like when he saw her wearing a dress at my aunt's wedding. He made a comment about her thighs, which seemed playful but still inappropriate. He didn't even notice till I brought it up with him later. He explained he was saying the stuff randomly and promised to watch what he says around my family. He did it again days ago when my parents, my sister and her boyfriend were visiting. He was sitting with her boyfriend the entire time like they just became friends, even though they're not close, and seeing that her boyfriend has known us for 6 months only. My husband started talking to my sister's boyfriend, and out of nowhere dived into heavy stuff and kept asking inappropriate, intimate questions in front of my parents. I didn't know about that since I was in the kitchen. Mom walked into the kitchen to let me know they were all leaving before dinner. She looked upset, so I asked why, what happened, and she told me my husband embarrassed her, my dad, and my sister and her boyfriend by making an inappropriate comment about my sister. I didn't know the full story, and I couldn't make them stay, but I apologized profoundly, then asked my husband what was going on, and demanded he tell exactly what happened. He said he and my sister's boyfriend were talking, and he asked her boyfriend if she was any good in bed. I was stunned. Then he continued saying he then told her boyfriend that he'd definitely pursue her if she wasn't an in-law, and that's it. He insisted everyone overreacted. I told him how upset my family, specifically my sister, was, and he said she was being ungrateful, since he was just telling her boyfriend about how good and wanted she is, and meant no harm. I said harm already done when he embarrassed my sister, her boyfriend, and my parents. I told him he had no shame and should start learning manners and stop making shameless, inappropriate comments in my family's house. We had a fight that lasted for hours. He said I was stressing him out over nothing, and my sister was being too sensitive and should dump the insecure little boy she's dating if what he said offended him. I'm so sick of this attitude, and I'm not expecting things to get better since he sees nothing wrong with it. Okay, your husband wants to sleep with your sister, and since he can't, he's doing what immature little boys do. He's being mean to the girl he likes. Do you want to be married to a dude who actively wants to bang your sister? This is exactly it. He even threw in the she should dump her insecure boyfriend so he can have her to himself again. He was probably jealous of him. Opie is going to lose her sister if she doesn't leave this guy. Honestly, I would never trust my sister again since she let the harassment go on for so long and never addressed it. Your husband is harassing your sister. He doesn't see anything wrong with what he said. At this point, I doubt none of your family want him around, and by extension you. Is this something you're willing to continue to allow? Because he's not going to stop. Edit. And if you keep bringing him around her, you're facilitating and forcing her to be in contact with her harasser. Keep him away from her until you wise up and divorce him. Are we just gonna ignore the fact that he said he would pursue her if she wasn't an in-law? Not if I wasn't married or if we both weren't taken, but rather insinuating that if she wasn't close enough to Opie to reveal it, he'd probably cheat. He could be cheating already for all she knows. Opie, your husband isn't making jokes. Jokes are supposed to be funny. When no one was laughing the first time, he should have stopped. He's shown his true colors and all of you are tired of his crap. Divorce him and find a man that won't make inappropriate comments about other people and constantly making your family uncomfortable. Or at the very least, make him go to individual and marriage counseling.
Mother-in-law thinks I cheated on my dear husband because we are having a girl, then physically assaults me at 8 months pregnant. Part 2. This is the second part of this saga, which includes a post of the husband 2 years later telling the internet that he wants his family back, even now that the OP has a fiancé and expecting another child. If you haven't watched the first part yet, click the link in the description. Now for the third update. Okay, long story short, I, 27 female, gave my husband, 31 male, divorce papers 3 months ago, and he refuses to see our babies since, and is saying that I'll be a single mom if I go through with it. We had a huge rocky patch that ended in me just completely falling out of love with him, and ultimately deciding that I just couldn't stay with him after he showed me how much his mother's influence can control him. I have a mother-in-law from hell. To make a super long story short, she hated that we were having a second daughter, accused me of cheating, then hospitalized me when I was heavily pregnant. My husband was standing up for me at first, but quickly jumped on his mom's crazy train. He left me with both our girls days after I gave birth to our youngest to go stay with his mom. Said nasty, hurtful things to our toddler, and used our new baby as leverage to guilt-trip me into asking for leniency in his mom's assault hearing towards me. We had paternity tests done on our new daughter to prove she was his and that I didn't cheat on him, and as soon as it was proven that she was his, it's like a switch flipped. He refused to test our oldest, as if that would prove he trusted me, and was begging me to forgive him, and was being sickeningly sweet to me. And to be honest, it was disgusting to see how he could just flip on me like that. And what really messed me up was that he went from a loving, amazing father to our oldest, to just plain horrendous to her. He treated her like garbage for the few weeks after the incident, even though he had been an amazing father to her until his mom made stupid accusations. He called her names, like called her a whiny brat, an annoying toad. This is particularly upsetting because she's terrified of frogs and toads. Told her to go to your mom when she was upset or crying or hurt, and told her things were my fault, or that mommy hates me and grandma, so you don't get to come with me, and refused to even hold our newborn and avoided looking at her. Prior to this all happening, she was his princess, baby girl, sweetheart, etc. She's only 2.5, so I know she doesn't grasp the mean stuff he said that much, but it still showed a huge change in her personality. She started putting herself in timeout when he would leave because she thought she did something wrong, and started to say sorry whenever he was around for no reason. She started having big tantrums and acting out of nowhere, so I do think she understood the things he was saying to her. I told him mistreatment is mistreatment, even if you don't think the toddler can understand you, and that it was disgusting what he was saying to her, and to get over himself. I went to stay with my sister, and I just have not been able to look at him the same way. I can't look at him and feel love at all, not even the slightest bit. He's just the guy who fathered my girls at this point. Now, it's been 4 months almost since we got the paternity test, and he's been trying to win me back ever since. But I have told him I just don't love him after the way he treated our kids, over his mom's ridiculous accusations. How can I be with someone who can just abandon his kids over an accusation, and more so, be so horrible to them? I gave him divorce papers after a month of staying with my sister, and he refuses to do anything about it. He keeps saying you're not leaving me, and the day you leave me is the day you become a single mom. I'm so hurt for the babies, and my oldest is quite obviously aware of her dad's absence. But he won't even come see them until I drop the divorce and take him back. His mom is over the moon and has been vague booking on Facebook about how happy she is for her son to find a new future, but is also posting about how she can't see her grandchildren for pity. She can't be around them because she assailed me while I was pregnant and was found to have been trying to harm the baby. But she's portraying me as some bitter daughter-in-law keeping the kids away to play victim to her friends. What the hell do I do? Do I just embrace being a single mom? Even if he accepts that we are done, how do I prevent him popping in and out of their everyday life? I don't want him being an idiot and punishing them by staying away when he's not getting his way. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. You get a protective order against both of them, and make sure they never see those children again. Don't forget custody, child support, and alimony. The husband hasn't, hence him trying to manipulate the situation. He's getting cleaned the heck out and knows it. I think that a parent willing to punish and forsake his children because he's angry at the other parent is someone that does not deserve children. If he could turn on them like that once, he'll be more than willing to do it again. Honestly, if he's going to check out of parenthood just because he's mad at you, then he might as well just sign away his rights now. I think if he's going to continue to act like that and go back and forth between being a caring parent to hating on them, then he'll do more damage to your children than if he wasn't there at all. It's a hard road to manage, but I don't think he and his mother are people that your children should be around. They sound extremely toxic and manipulative. My daughter is the same age as OP's eldest. I cannot imagine carrying on like the husband here. Reading about the kid going into timeout on her own makes me sad thinking about it. What a jackass. Oh my god, girl, let me tell you. I raised both my daughters on my own from when my oldest was 1 and I was still pregnant with my second. Not heard from the bio dad since the day I left. Have had nothing to with them, and they are great. Found and met a great man nearly 10 years later, who has taken them as his own. Your children, like mine, seem much better off without the both of them, and I don't say that lightly. I know so many parents would love to have a dad want to be involved, and don't think it won't sting when they ask, why don't I have a dad, when they start school? But for me, it was the absolute best thing. In this case, it seems like yours too. Go on ahead with the divorce. You deserve so much better, and I promise you better is out there. Fourth update. My ex-husband and I have been divorced officially for 22 months. Our marriage imploded after our second daughter was born because his family have a weird obsession with boys and implied I cheated because we had girls. Everyone made it clear that girls were inferior, and he sided with his family after they verbally and physically hurt me. That's putting it lightly, but that's the gist. He's been with his new girlfriend for about 6 months and only sees our girls once every week or so. After we divorced, I got really close with a long-term friend from college. He told me that he always had feelings for me, but we were always in relationships with other people, so the timing never worked out. Well, fast forward, and we've been dating for 16 months, engaged for 4 months. He proposed on our 1-year anniversary. He's known my girls their whole lives. It's been a long time since I've been this happy. Well, I am 16 weeks pregnant, and we just found out that we are having a baby boy. I haven't told my ex-husband yet, and I just kind of figured he'd get the idea when I'm visibly pregnant. We will start telling the girls in the next few weeks. I know I obviously have to address the situation with my ex. I know he's going to ask if we are having a girl or a boy, and I am unprepared for how he will react about baby being a boy. Or more realistically, how to navigate the situation when he does eventually find out baby is a boy. I guarantee his reaction will be bad. I just don't know if it's better to announce that we are having a boy now or after he's born. My sister says to not tell anyone the gender and say we are waiting till birth to be surprised, but all my mom friends are saying to announce it now so he has a few months to process his feelings about our daughter's new sibling. Now for the top advice. To hell with his feelings. Also, this feels really dumb because it's his seed that determine the sex of the baby. Yeah, this whole situation is a toxic mix of sexism, ignorance, and stupidity. On the one hand, I'd like to say, okay, she's having a boy with this guy, so clearly she can have a boy. But on the other hand, given what she's dealing with, who knows if they'll claim she somehow made herself have only girls with the ex. It's absurd, and if these people are real, they can find out whenever they have a need to know. They'll find out when the girls start talking about their baby brother at least. No need to give a heads up though, since there's no real positive outcome here for OP as far as I can see. Do you think he'll be violent towards you or your girls? If not, you don't need to tell him anything. He'll figure it out and hear it through the grapevine. The family was already harming her physically. It wasn't mentioned in the post, but that was applied to the children as well. Since he's still allowed to see them once a week, we can assume not. But that doesn't mean that won't change when he finds out. He could go even further off the deep end. I would prioritize your safety and the safety of your girls, because his family has shown to be this harmful towards you, and he hasn't defended you against it. So honestly, as another commenter put it, to hell with his feelings. His feelings in this case are violent misogyny. I wouldn't tell him anything, and try to limit any contact that doesn't involve the girls. Not that it's related, but I wonder what he told the new girlfriend. I broke up with my ex because I sided with my family who mistreated her physically and verbally because they believed she cheated because she gave birth to girls, because only women who cheat give birth to girls. I would run away from that so fast, but this woman could believe in that misogyny too. Now for the husband's post after learning his ex-wife is pregnant with a boy. I want my pregnant ex-wife and family back. Full disclosure, I messed up. Bad. I know that. 2 years ago, me and my ex-wife welcomed our second daughter into the world. My mom put thoughts into my head about the paternity of my girls shortly before her birth. In my family, only boys had been born on my side for several generations. I thought my parents and my now ex-wife got along well, but it all exploded when we were expecting our second daughter. My wife told me that my mom had been implying that she cheated for a long time and making nasty digs at her when I wasn't present, but she didn't tell me because she thought I'd side with my mom. In hindsight, she was actually right. I did let my mom get to me, and my relationship exploded. I went through a horrible time where I wasn't being a good dad. Every time I'd see my girls, I'd find things that would convince me they weren't mine. I went to stay with my parents after a nasty fight between my wife and my mom. I know it was a huge mistake and it ultimately ended my marriage. My wife insisted on a paternity test to prove it, and I just knew then that there was no way she cheated. I begged her not to do the tests, but she was adamant. After the tests, she told me that she just couldn't look at me the same after I sided with my mom, and she just didn't love me the same way anymore. I went down a spiral and refused the divorce, and said if she hated me that much, I'd just sign away my rights to the kids, and she could go be a single mom if she felt that way. I know that was wrong. We did get divorced 3 months later, and it's been 2 years. I see my girls every weekend and pick up the oldest from daycare 3 days a week. Things have gotten a lot better, and I feel like we have a good co-parenting relationship going on, but there's this wall that she keeps up around me. My ex-wife is engaged to the guy she's been dating for a year, and I've been seeing my new girlfriend on and off for 7 months. I just found out that my ex-wife is pregnant. I asked if she knew the gender yet, and she said yes, it's a boy. This is me ripping the band-aid off. If you need time to process, I understand. I was shocked, and she said it with zero emotion, and walked inside with my daughters and closed the door. I feel like I'm watching a bad movie play out, where some guy gets to play house with my family and I'm a total outsider. My girlfriend has been talking about marriage and kids, and I'm nowhere near ready to even think about that with her. I'm starting to feel like I want my old life back. I got really drunk last night and tried to call my ex-wife, but she didn't answer. I'm glad she didn't, because I would have said some really stupid stuff. Take me back. Let's give our family another chance. I'd even take on her new baby as my own, etc. I know it's pathetic, and I know this is all my fault. I just don't know how to go about this. I have to pretend I'm okay with this. I don't even know how I can interact with her without spilling my heart and desires. Edit. I cut off my mom 8 months ago and was brutal when I did so. She knows that I regret ever listening to her BS, and she's no longer a part of my life. It was her or my kids, and I chose my kids. You all act like I dropped my girls off on the side of the road. I'm still actively involved with my children. I'm looking into therapy, but you guys act like a shrink will make me magically stop loving her. Signing out for a while because some of you are huge jerks. Thanks. He says he feels like he's watching another guy play house with his family, but he was the one who decided his daughters weren't family first. I don't blame OP for not wanting to try and fix their relationship after that. It was non-fixable at that point. He had treated her and the children horribly. There is no coming back from this. I like how he totally leaves out the part where his crazy mother literally threw a snow globe at his pregnant ex-wife's head and tried to kick her stomach. And even after all that, he went to go stay with his crazy mother and take her side. Bro. Yeah, I also noticed he called it a fight between his mother and his wife. Like, no dude, your mother viciously, and with absolutely no provocation, physically and verbally attacked a defenseless and heavily pregnant woman, including kicking her freaking belly. You don't get to minimize your mother's horrible and dangerous behavior and try and make it sound like your poor ex-wife was an equal partner in this fictional fight. At least be honest with yourself about what your mother put that poor woman through. Jesus. He is lucky he even gets visitation. I cut off my mom 8 months ago and was brutal when I did so. She knows that I regret ever listening to her BS, and she's no longer a part of my life. It was her or my kids, and I chose my kids. He probably almost didn't. I am guessing from the comment above that he led his mom around the girls, possibly violating the court orders. Not sure, but maybe. And I feel safe assuming OP explained everything to a judge. And I can't imagine the judge took too kindly to the fact that dad was willing to let his kids around crazy granny. I don't think he cut off his mom, as much as the court told him he would lose custody and visitation if he had her around the kids. Oof, what an absolute moron. OP is obviously way better off without him. I'm glad she stood up for herself and her daughters and left him. Hopefully this new guy will continue to treat her and her children the way they deserve. I find it hard to believe he had no idea until the second baby how his mom felt. Seriously, the minute he said, "The day you leave me you become a single mom," I was like, and don't threaten me with a good time. Everything is better than his flip-flopping around. Go suck on an egg, you absolute muppet. And that was after the paternity test. He knew they were his kids and still said he would abandon them.